Okay, so we are now looking at rhetorical analysis, the one with Jane Addams, where Jane Addams is talking to the Union League Club on February 23rd, 1903. So we're just going to jump right into it. Here we go. Consider George Washington, the father of the United States. Truly an iconic figure of U.S. history, the face of the ubiquitous dollar bill, it is hard to imagine that this man was once just a farmer, and then a soldier, and also an aspiring politician. It's hard to see George Washington as human because in the minds of Americans, he is an integral part of the nation's foundation. To imagine that he had fears, internal conflicts, and a process to go through in order to become the first president of the United States knocks him slightly off the pedestal that almost every American puts him on. Okay, so right there what we have is we have our hook, and remember that a hook is not mandatory, but if you can think of one quickly, it's fine to include a hook in a rhetorical analysis. The purpose of this particular hook is it sets up the message that Jane Addams is trying to impart in her speech. So then it transitions right into our at soap sentence. But in Jane Addams, that's our author, address in 1905, that's our occasion, that's our audience to the Union League Club. She makes efforts to get her audience to do just that. This is her purpose. Imagine George Washington as an ordinary man whose adherence to his convictions made him extraordinary. Jane Addams' masterful use of repetition, this right now is the thesis, so you have the what. The use of repetition is the what, as is words that inspire people to courageously cling to their principles. Help her audience see, and this is her why, Washington as both an apotheosis of American ideals and a relatable human being. Okay, so right there, pretty simple. You got your introduction, you have an optional hook, then you have your at soap sentence, and then you have your thesis statement. Now let's go into the body of the essay. So the first part of the body is going to focus on repetition. So first we of course lay out our evidence. In the beginning of her speech, Addams says, if we are going to make this day of advantage to us, we will have to take this definition of a great man. We will have to appeal to the present as well as to the past. We will have to rouse our national consciences as well as our national pride, and we will all have to remember that it lies with the young people of this nation whether it is going to go on to a finish in any wise worthy of its beginning. She also says, we see all around us a spirit of materialism, an undue emphasis put upon material possessions, an inordinate desire to win wealth, an inordinate fear of losing wealth, an inordinate desire to please those who are possessors of wealth. Later she says, if he knew that any child which is thrust prematurely into industry has no chance in life, who are preserved from that pain and sorrow, if he knew that every insanitary street and every insanitary house cripples a man so that he has no health and no vigor with which to carry on his life labor, if he knew that all about us are forces making against skill, making against the best manhood and womanhood, what would he say? This constant repetition drives Addams' points into the listener psyches. So right there, you can see the reader impact. It basically makes the audience remember her important points. Now I'm going to specifically explain how these devices do that. So I'm going to give how each device impacts the reader, each example. In the first part, she continuously repeats the words we will. When she uses an inclusive pronoun, see how specific this is? Like the royal we, she is putting her audience at the same level as the president. She is basically reminding the audience that just paying homage to Washington is not enough. Using the word we makes the audience responsible for preserving Washington's values. As she puts it, appealing to the present as well as the past. In the second series of repetitions, she repeats the word inordinate. This helps the audience realized that its focus on materialism has gone too far. See the very specific reader impact there? Washington heralded prosperity, but when prosperity turned into materialism, the need for an inordinate amount of wealth, the balance is lost. But where Adams really gets the audience to contemplate their mentality in comparison to Washington's is when she continuously repeats the clause, if he knew. This repetition shames the audience. Look at how specific that reader impact is. Because it makes it seem like they are wayward children. And this is an insight because of the metaphor. Simile. Of an unaware father, Washington. And if he only knew how they had lapsed morally, he would be profoundly disappointed in them. And then something to sum up reader impact altogether. Adams' repetition constantly reveals to the audience both its responsibility and how it falls short of that expectation. Okay, now we're on to the next body paragraph where we focus on diction, but we don't, remember, use the word diction. We're very specific. Adams reinforces her message by using words that inspire her audience to adhere to the nation's foundational values. For example, she says, "What is it that we admire about the soldier? We admire that he has the power of losing his own life for the life of a larger cause." She also says, "What was it that sustained Washington during all those days, all those weeks, during all those months and years? It was the belief that they were founding a nation on the axiom that all men are created free and equal." She also says, "To such honor and simple honesty as George Washington expressed in his business dealings." Putting all of these quotes together, it is easy to see that what made George Washington evolve from ordinary man to iconic American hero was his steadfastness in his convictions. So right there you have the reader impact reflecting the thesis statement. And then we're going to go into a more specific explanation. It was not his great battle tactics. So this is a summary sentence that is going to reinforce this, but reinforce it specifically for each quote. It was not his battle tactics, but his willingness to give his life for others. It was not his brilliant political dealing, but his unwavering belief in equality. And it wasn't his business acumen or wealth, but his honesty in business that made him America's beloved father. Adams' emphasis on Washington's character rather than his achievements sets Washington up as not just a hero, but as a true role model for every American to emulate. Okay, now we have the conclusion, and remember the conclusion is going to have some provoking statements in it, and it's going to in some way refer to or restate the thesis. Adams is an iconic figure too. She was a venerated activist who did much for the children and oppressed in her time. So the fact that she focuses on Washington's like-minded attributes is not surprising. She is definitely an ideal choice for a keynote speaker at an event such as the one represented here. What makes her speech truly memorable, though, is the faith that she has in the American people to change their materialist mentalities into altruistic perspectives. All right, that's it.